Hello everyone, how are you doing? I'm Max Duriagin, and in this new video I would like to talk about something cool, something I'm really passionate about, and that is the gadgets that I use for my subtitling work. People often talk about subtitling software for Windows or for Mac, desktop applications versus the cloud, stuff for live subtitling, machine translation, automatic speech recognition, and so on and so forth. But when it comes to hardware, almost nothing. So I would like to change that and maybe start this conversation. So yeah, um, let's get straight to it. Without further ado, here is my list of the devices that I use to increase the speed, quality, and comfort of my work. And I would like to start with probably my favorite one. And here it is. Can you see it? Yes. It is the Elgato Stream Deck. And what is the Stream Deck? You could basically think of it as a detached numpad of your keyboard, where every button is also a small LCD display. And so you could assign any image to it so that you can see what it actually does. Plus, of course, using its software, you can assign all kinds of actions to these buttons. Let me show you. So, for instance, you could open any website like LinkedIn or your email. I have three here, my personal one for work, and one for activism related stuff. You could have multimedia controls like volume up, volume down, mute, and microphone stuff. You could launch any program. I have here Dragon Naturally Speaking, or execute a script. This one is very simple. It is for switching between two pairs of headphones that I have. You could also open a folder, any folder on your computer, invoices, projects, stuff like that. There is also a library of plugins that you could use, and they range from very simple, like this one, it just shows the current time, to some advanced ones. And there are more options, but I think the main beauty of this device really is that it's not just 15 buttons. It's much more than that, because each one of them could be a folder of buttons. So it's like nested folders. Here, for instance, I have this briefcase. This is for work, and it is a folder. So I press on it and I have a whole folder of new buttons. And these are also folders, by the way, so I can go back. Basically, these all are profiles, individual layouts of numpads for different subtitling tools like Easy Titles, Una, and so on, for different clients like LSPs and corporate and other, and also for different project types depending on the end client. And by the way, this is just an example, of course. I don't work with most of these, just to show you. So if I were to press on Netflix, here I have my different project types: origination, sub-QC, dub-QC, and template creation. And if I go to sub-QC, now here I have my individual personalized numpad for this particular project type, which works best for it specifically. So what do we have here? Well, pause, play, a jump forward and backward 1 second, frame forward and backward. This is half a second, which is very nice for shot changes. Set in and out time, go to previous and next subtitle. Then this is a folder of pre-prepared comments for common errors. Basically, I just press on one button and it enters that text so that I don't have to type it again and again and again, which really saves a little bit of time. And this is a folder of scripts that simply paste the error flag type: subjective, objective, formatting, positioning, and many others. Also, just instead of pressing several things, you press one. Saves time. And finally, this is a toggle for Dragon Naturally Speaking to enable and disable it. And I use it not only for voice dictation, but also for voice commands. I have dozens of those. Split, merge, italicize, change positioning, and many others. So anyway, you could use this device for having a whole bunch of different things like this, or anything really. It's up to your imagination and creativity, basically, what you want to do with it, because the possibilities are endless. And you don't have to have it stationary on your desktop. No, you could just take it into your hands like a gamepad or a joystick of sorts, and then you can just use your thumbs to operate it. And you don't have to be in this forced position with your keyboard and your mouse. No, you could take it, you could sit back, you could rest it on your lap, you could just be in your comfortable position or stand up or whatever it is that you want to do. It gives you that freedom, which is really nice and I like it a lot. So I purchased it several years ago and it has served me really well. It is pricey, but I think it's definitely worth it. And the next cool device is right here. It's quite bulky. Let me grab it. Here it is. An RGB keyboard. RGB meaning, of course, that each key could be backlit with any color of any intensity, and it could be dynamic too and change over time if that's something that you need for some reason. But why RGB and not a regular keyboard? Well, just like the Stream Deck, you could create different layouts of lights and colors for different project types and subtitling tools. And then it can be easier for you to see which buttons do what, and then you don't have to really memorize that. It's a little bit of a visual memory thing, I guess. Quite convenient. Let me show you. So, here, this is just for demonstration of what RGB means, kind of a rainbow thing going on. But if I switch the profile, now I have my regular one for stuff that's not related to work, like browsing, for instance. And now the next profile here is, you can see it's green for easy titles. And numpad is all kinds of colors now. And yeah, so what do we have? F11 is for the full screen mode, and this is split, merge, remove subtitle, add subtitle, in and out time, previous and next tab, top position, bottom position, pause play, jump backward and forward, and with control it's frame backward and forward, and so on. So you could see that you get used to the colors and then it becomes much easier, right? And then the next profile is for Netflix sub QC, of which I do a fair bit, well, normally. And as you can see, there are new buttons that do something, but the numpad looks the same. But do not be deceived. Even though it looks the same, it is just not the same thing, because of course Easy Titles and Originator are two vastly different pieces of software. They have different shortcuts, features, and functionality, and so it's just not the same. But with the software that comes with this keyboard, Corsair, you could easily reprogram the buttons to do different key combinations and macros and scripts, and so that on your end it will look the same and do the same stuff more or less. Whereas there it's not quite the same. So a little bit of a consistency thing here. Now these buttons, they are again for pre-prepared comments, like on the Stream Deck, for translation errors, timing errors, segmentation, positioning, formatting. And these ones are different. What they do is basically they open the search bar, enter a particular regular expression, and then press next. Or if the search bar is already open, just press next. Kind of saves you a bit of time. And stuff like, double and trailing spaces, capitalization, what else? Punctuation stuff, and so on. Generally, I think if you have to do something in a project repetitively again and again, and it takes you, say, 3 mouse clicks, and you could reprogram it to do just 1 mouse click or key press, well, why not do that? You will save yourself a lot of time over the long run. So it's just something I would like to recommend. Automate things. Anyway, the next profile is for DaVinci Resolve, and yeah, I have a couple more, but you get the general idea. And now we move on to the third device that I'd like to show you. It sits neatly right there, and here it is. A tablet. Now, many people use a tablet as an additional screen. I don't. For me, it is an additional keyboard. And not for subtitling itself, but rather for other stuff like filling out forms and documents and spreadsheets, and maybe just texting. And it kind of works better than a normal keyboard. Why? Well, let's take a look. Now, please don't pay attention to all these additional buttons here. I just added them with a little bit of programming to complement the mobile keyboard because, of course, by itself, it's just not enough. It doesn't have some of the buttons that I need, like escape and control and shift, etc. So anyway, why a tablet? Why not a regular keyboard? Well, once you connect it to your computer through the app called Unified Remote, whatever you type here will go straight to the PC. And then you will be able to reap the benefits. And what it can do for you is save you a whole bunch of typing through three different ways. The first one is, I don't know about you guys, but I have often this problem. I start typing something, realize it's the wrong language, then I have to remove all of that, I change the language layout, and start typing again. And here it's not really possible because you can see the letters. If they're English letters, then you are typing, of course, in English. If it is a different set of letters, well, then it's that language. So it's a bit of an annoyance that gets completely eliminated here. The second way a tablet will help you to save a whole lot of typing is through auto suggestions and auto corrections. Just like on your smartphone, when you text to someone, you have those three suggestions that you can tap on. And it's the same here. So let me show you. Say, Amy bought 20 onions and a dozen of... Sometimes you only need to type one or two or three letters and then it knows what it is that you want to type. And in the app called Gboard or Google Board, which is like a very advanced version of a normal mobile keyboard that you can install on your tablet, there is this setting that you can enable and then it will remember what you typed and improve its suggestions based on that and become more accurate, which is particularly useful when you work on something with a lot of repetition, maybe some sort of a spreadsheet, and then it will just be so accurate and sometimes even chain suggest correct words. And now the third way a tablet can save you a lot of typing, and this probably is the most important one, is through voice dictation. As you can see, there is this microphone button here, and you can just tap on it and voice dictate something. Michael went to the grocery store to buy a couple of carrots and 3 potatoes, period. Not a single mistake, although sometimes it does make mistakes like punctuation and capitalization, maybe spaces, but generally it's really good. And now you could say, Max, but there's Dragon naturally speaking for that. Why use this gimmicky setup? Well, yes, but first of all, Dragon is $500 today, and that is just a lot of money, whereas this is free. Second, Dragon, if I remember correctly, only supports like 5 or 6 languages. And Russian, my language, is not among them. So it's just not an option. Whereas this Google-powered voice dictation supports dozens of languages, maybe even close to 50. Not only that, but it's also faster and more accurate. And you know, you don't even have to have a tablet. You could do all the same stuff on your smartphone and maybe rest it next to your keyboard and then tap the microphone icon and voice dictate something whenever you need. That's quite convenient and again free, so generally something to consider. And now we move to the next device right here. And I actually have a couple of them. Very simple, but I cannot see myself doing any project without it anymore. A USB foot pedal. Now this one I don't really use anymore. It's not comfortable. This one, however, is great. And what I do with it is video navigation. So pause play and jump backward. I figured I don't really need to jump forward all that much. Look at these cute pixies. Can you see them? Yeah. And it's just good. You know, first of all, you take some of the load off your hands and fingers, which already have to do pretty much everything, and transfer it to your feet. And that's nice. Plus, you work your feet, you get the blood going, it's like exercise. And we already subtitlers, we have to work for hours and hours on end and sit on our butt. So this is just good for your health. And you can find them on like Amazon for maybe $20 or euros. They're cheap. I wholeheartedly recommend that you use them just for your health. And the next thingamajiggy that I would like to show you is right here. Very small, very simple, but I love it to bits. A USB dial. It's a little bit lit here, can you see it? And I like the tactile feeling. I like the sound. Can you hear it? It's like ASMR. It's so nice. And it doesn't have to be just for volume controls. You could do anything with it and reprogram it to maybe scroll through the waveform of your subtitling tool, maybe through the list of subtitles, or if you buy one where there are like two knobs rather than just one, it can be one for adjusting the in time and the other for the out time. And you can find them on AliExpress and eBay and Amazon, all kinds with additional buttons, with several dials and so on. And yeah, it's up to you really what you want to do with it. And if you have a particularly large one with all kinds of knobs and tumblers and buttons, it almost feels like you're in the sound mixing room or an editing room and you are a professional, part of the creative team of a film, which, you know, in a sense you already are, I think. But you get what I mean, like you feel professional and cool. It's fun, it's a lot of fun. I am willing to donate a whole USB port in my computer just to have this small thing. That's how much I like it. And then there is this piece of hardware, which I feel like is kind of a must-have, not only for translators, but for any kind of freelancer. A pair of noise-canceling headphones. You know, just to kind of tone down that background noise, whether it be a dog barking outside, or maybe someone doing renovation nearby, or just your family members being rowdy. And then you can actually focus on your job and hear not only what a character in a film is saying, but also how they're saying it, and maybe catch that tone, that note of sarcasm or indignation, and choose better wording for it in your translation. So it's like a small quality of life improvement for your workstation, like maybe dual monitors or ergonomic fittings or an ergonomic keyboard or mouse. And by the way, as far as mice, I've tried all kinds of them. Regular ones, a vertical mouse, a trackball, a trackpad, and so on. And for me, the best one by far has been this Logitech Master MX3. It's just the kind of a mouse that I bought and forgot that I had any problems with mice ever. I understand it's a very individual thing, it depends on your anatomy and requirements and maybe medical conditions, but this one is, trust me, is really good. Now this next device is really high tech, and what I'm going to do is show it to you and you try to figure out what it is. Here, can you tell? Yes, this is an eye tracker, a gadget that knows where you're looking on your screen and can track your eye movements. And it's quite useful. It's been a great help for me over the years. Yeah, I know this isn't one of those fancy eye trackers they use at universities uh, for their studies. It's not that, because those professional ones, they are like thousands of dollars, some of them more than 10 grand. I don't have that kind of money. So I bought the one for gamers. I think it's called Tobii 4C, and there is now a newer one, Tobii 5, but you know, good enough. And I purchased it secondhand, used, for even cheaper than normal. So a good deal, isn't it? And you could do a couple of things with it. One is you could move your mouse pointer, your mouse cursor with your eyes. And for that, it's kind of accurate enough, I have to say. On my screen, the difference between where I'm looking and where it's actually pointing is around half a centimeter to maybe a centimeter off. And with your head tilt, you could do finer adjustments. So accuracy itself isn't really an issue. What is an issue, at least for me, is that it kind of emits this infrared light into your eyes, and because of that, they get tired a little bit faster. And I wouldn't. I care about my eyesight. I already use these computer glasses and the program called Flux to change the color temperature of my screen just to save my eyes. So I don't want them to get tired faster. But if you have some sort of a health problem or disability, by all means, use it. Why not? Now, as a professional subtitler, though, um, I'm more interested in something else. And that is what many people call simulation, where you finalize your subtitle file and then watch the whole thing again as if you were just a normal viewer from the target audience. And then you record your eye movements and you can catch those problems. Maybe a sudden positioning change can affect the viewing experience and you will miss a shot, particularly if it's short. Or perhaps there is a problem with the timing, because of which you miss a particular important element of an image. Or perhaps just the text itself. It can be ambiguous, like a garden path sentence, or there might be an uncommon word there, or just unclear. Just recently, by the way, I had this interesting situation. I worked on RuPaul's Drag Race, and we had one word. It was a two-syllable word. And if the stress was on the first syllable, it meant one thing. If on the second, another thing. But there were no indicators, no symbols to show which one it is. So the eyes went back to reread that word and try to disambiguate it, what it means. So what I did was rewrote the whole text and made it unambiguous. So there is that. And yeah, it can be quite useful. I think it generally, this eye tracker, it kind of makes you more conscious, more aware of how your decisions as a translator affect the real viewing experience in practical ways. So for instance, if you change the positioning or make your subtitle italicized or maybe all caps, or perhaps top heavy versus bottom heavy, you will know very well what that means for the viewer. And you could tell, but Max, look, there is this indicator. Surely it kind of affects this whole thing. It interferes and changes the experience. Yes, but the thing is, you could make it so quite easily that it does not appear on the screen, but will show up in the recording. That is done through a piece of software called OBS, Open Broadcast Software. There's a tutorial online. It's quite easy. It will take you just a couple of minutes, I think. So that's not a problem. And you could also say, but wait a minute. This is really subjective. It's your eye movements. Surely other people's gaze will have a different pattern. Yes, but also not really. Why? Well, because you would be surprised just how similar our eye movements are. And this is because they are manipulated. They are hijacked by the people who are creators of a film or a show. And they do that through various cinematic techniques like editing and montage, like very particular use of lighting and movement and faces and so on. So that is all deliberate. Actually, I think Pablo Romero Fresco wrote about that in his book Accessible Filmmaking. I have it right there. I also kind of touched upon that thing in my previous article about the cinematic language of film and the importance for us translators to understand films as an art form. You will find the link in the description on YouTube. So yeah, there's that thing. And it's, after you've done a bit of testing and experimentation, particularly with your friends, if you choose to, or relatives or family members, you will be able to extrapolate how things are, not only for yourself, but also for other people, depending on what kind of a viewer they are. And yeah, I think just generally you become a better specialist. I have to warn you though, This is not a magic wand that you can just wave and then get all that knowledge to yourself and start making more informed decisions. No, it takes a lot of effort and time and work to do all the testing and experimentation. But once you've done it, you will benefit from it, no doubt. So something I really recommend if you want to go just that next level. And we have arrived to the last final gadget that I would like to show you. Here it is, actually a couple of them. And it is virtual reality headset. This one is a bit simpler. It's called Samsung Gear VR. And what you do with it is you just take your smartphone, you plug it in, then put the whole thing on and do your thing. But it's kind of useless for a subtitler, so I just bought it a while back as a test. Now, this one, however, is the real deal. And, I'll be honest with you, so far I've only done a couple of very simple projects with it, where I was asked to test the subtitles in two short 360-degree videos. Stuff like proofread, check positioning, and readability, and so on. But I think in the future there'll be just more work like this because there'll be a lot more immersive content, both for games and videos. And so I think it's just much better to hire someone who's a professional subtitler, but also who can operate this thing, rather than someone masterful in all things VR, but who's just not a subtitler. Like, for instance, the creators of this new game called Virtual Reality 2 would definitely benefit from hiring a subtitler, because as you can see, their subs are hard to read because of poor contrast, and the line breaks are sometimes off, and so on. So I decided just to future-proof myself and get one and learn to use it, which is quite nice. And I think in the future there'll be also more software for VR subtitling. Right now I know only of one, which is the iMac Projects tool, and I think there'll be more. So yeah, something quite exciting, and it's about the future, and you need to think about the future. It's fully. Alright guys, this is pretty much it. Sorry for a very long video. I hope you found it helpful, and as always, if you'd like to share your ideas or thoughts or suggestions, please feel free to do that on YouTube in the comment section. Or maybe if you'd like to share what gadgets you use for your subtitling work, you can do that there as well. But yes, this is it, and have a nice day.